This is a short video just to explain how to actually fit the added options for the internal fridge filters. Your internal fridge filters would typically be a custom cartridge that's designed for your specific fridge that fits internally in the fridge. We do have options that can upgrade these filters to a much better system, making it more comparable to some of the under-counter filter systems. Typically, the fridges would still be connected using a 1/4-inch pipe. It's a wide pipe, just over 6 millimeters outer diameter, which is quite flexible. If your fridge is using this kind of pipe, you can add our additional options for the fridge. First thing, and something we really would recommend for most areas in South Africa, is just an inline sediment filter. Basically what this does is this actually catches the dirt particles before it gets into your fridge and gets to your filters. Not all areas, but in some areas the fridge filters we've found a lot lately have been clogging up before their useful lifespan. The reason for this is they're designed typically for better quality distribution systems than we have in this country. So the actual area of the filter is quite small, so it can't handle that much dirt particles. Now, simply what you would do to install a filter like this is it's just got little quick couplings on each side. Most people would just put it on the ground behind the fridge. There is options of getting an optional bracket, which you can then drill a hole, put a wall plug in, mount this to a wall, and the filter simply slides into the bracket. Then it's nice and neat and out of the way. It's not a requirement though. What you would do to install a filter like this is your pipe running to your fridge, you turn it off at the wall, drain some water from the fridge to release any pressure on the line, and simply take a pair of scissors or a knife, take your fridge's line where you would want to fit this filter in, and you literally just cut through the pipe. And then the way these fittings actually work is it's literally just a pusher. You just push the pipe into the connector. It grips very soon, but it's got O-rings slightly deeper in, so you need to take the pipe, apply a little bit of force, and it'll slide in a little bit deeper, and then it's locked in place and then doesn't release. Then you simply take the other side of the pipe that's running to your fridge, same thing on the other side, and there you've got it connected. Very straightforward. You can visibly see the dirt collecting in here. If it looks quite dirty, probably a good idea to replace it. Otherwise, if the flow starts to go down, it might start to get clogged. Typical lifespan on the fridge, what we've seen is between 6 and 12 months. Some areas, if it's better water, it's more like 24 months. Some areas we've seen that they've only lasted a month. So it is quite variable. To remove the filter or to replace it, again, you would turn off the water supply. The little fitting on the edge of the sediment filter here, you can push it in. If you push it in and you hold it with fingers, you can just pull the pipe out again. Put it back in, and just push it in until it slides in, and then it's locked in place again. Very straightforward. So that's the sediment filter. The next option is to add an ultrafiltration membrane. Now, the nice thing with the ultrafiltration membrane is it basically upgrades the fridge setup to actually block bacteria as well. This is an absolute must if you're using a source like borehole water, because you almost always have some bacteria there, or if you have a JoJo tank, you almost always have bacteria coming from the tank. These internal filters have not got any barriers for bacteria. So the big problem with them is then bacteria gets to the filter, starts growing there, and you very easily end up getting a worse water out of the fridge than you're actually putting into the fridge. What this ultrafiltration membrane does is it's a physical barrier that physically blocks bacteria from getting into the fridge. Again, very similar thing to install. It does clog up easier than something like the sediment filter would. So you can use this on its own, but we really would recommend using it in conjunction with the sediment filter. So what you would do to install something like the ultrafiltration membrane as well is both of these, the direction of flow is indicated. So just make sure to install them the correct way around. So if you want to add this ultrafiltration membrane, you would take your pipe, after the sediment filter, which, look at the direction of flow, would be here. And again, same thing, take the pipe, just cut it a little bit. The nice thing is adding the filters will actually extend the pipe because you're adding the extra length in there instead of making the pipe shorter. So you normally wouldn't require extra pipe work, although it is available. The ultrafiltration membrane works slightly differently. It's got a little nut which you unscrew, and it's just made easy to fit by hand. You push this over. Oops. you push this over the edge of the pipe, and just push it in until you have about 3 or 4 millimeters sticking out from the edge of the fitting. Then just connect it there. Make sure to check your direction of flow. This one was, we said, going to the fridge. It's actually the one for the other side here, and you just screw that in place by hand. Tighten it on there, and then what that actually does is this little fitting has got a little cone inside, and this has got a little tapered surface, so when you're screwing it in, the cone actually cuts into the pipe and locks onto it, making sure you don't get any leaks. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and then you can, once this is tightened, you can turn on the water supply and just check for any leaks. Both these design fittings are normally quite friendly and very rarely need to redo a connection. Then the ultrafiltration membrane, ideally you would want to flush it for a while. So if possible, you can disconnect the hose where it's connected to the fridge and just let it run into a drain or into the garden, and give it a good flush for about 15 minutes just to get the filter ready for use, and then connect it up to the fridge and you should be good to go. What we do have as an option as well is to neaten the installation. We also have a wall mount bracket that fits the ultrafiltration membrane, or if you only want to connect one to the wall and not have two things, you can take one of these or one of the ones for the sediment filter, and then we actually got brackets to connect the two to each other, which is all available through our online store or in store in our showroom, and you would simply clip them in together, and then you can have a setup that you can just hang on the wall from one point if you want to neaten it up. The reality of the situation is it'll always be behind your fridge, so it's not in any area where you would normally see it. So we find that some clients take the brackets, but quite a lot of them just let the filters lie on the ground, and that's also fine. They're sealed units, so it shouldn't be any problem. And that's how you upgrade a fridge filter setup.